Hey, hello everyone and welcome to Extreme Graphics Tech. My name is Angelo and on today's experiment video we are going to be testing. Could it be possible to play some 8K games at some PlayStation 5 games at 8K? And the reason I'm making this video is because I made already a video about playing 8K games on a very high-end PC, right? And we saw that it wasn't easy to play at 8K. However, ever since the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series came out, there has been this conversation about 8K. PlayStation 5 has it in the box, very big, 8K on the front, and the Xbox has it on on the back. I don't know what's the point of that. But the funny part about all of this is that the PlayStation 5 doesn't even allow 8K output. It hasn't been habilitated. So even if there was any game running at 8K, you couldn't play at 8K because there is simple, the maximum output resolution that the PlayStation 5 supports at the moment is 4K. So I don't even understand the point of having those 8K in the conversation. But anyway, I don't think anyone who bought a PlayStation 5 bought it with the intention to play at 8K. I don't think anyone did. Okay? However, now with the PlayStation 5 Pro, this 8K resolution is already like part of the conversation. I don't know why, but it is. And some videos ago, I made a video talking about my expectations for the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I said that I think in rasterization, it could be very similar to an RX 6800. So now that I have theorized that the performance in rasterization is going to be similar or above the 6800. I don't think if it's above, it's going to be by much. Can we play with an RX 6800 or the PlayStation 5 Pro equivalent any games at 8K? And what sort of sacrifices we will have to make? Of course, we're going to have to support FSR. In this case, we're going to use it because, as we know, PlayStation 5 Pro is going to bring PSSR, which is a form of AI reconstruction. We don't have that, but we can use FSR to sort of, alleviate the chart and see if we can achieve playable frame rate at 8K. But more importantly, that the playable frame rate is the quality. Because if I had a PlayStation 5 Pro and I had to go and I can play at 8K but with very low settings, I would prefer to still play at 4K and have my ray tracing and all that. So I don't know what will the point be of people sacrificing so much image quality just to get more resolution. But anyway, this is just a sort of fun experiment. So here we go. These were my results. We're trying to play 8K games on a similar equipped GPU. Okay, and we start this with the Contra Hardcore Operation Galuga that being recently released, which is an indie game, very easy to run. As you can see here, 8K 60 FPS is not a big deal for this GPU, even though it's kind of stuttery, and I think that's because probably this game wasn't thought to be run at such high resolutions, and then the game felt a little bit even heavier than normal, even though we're playing at 60 FPS. So there is probably some optimizations that needs to be done just to run this game properly at 8K, but I don't think it would be a big issue for the PlayStation 5 Pro to move something like this at 8K if they wanted to. So this showed that many indie games, very simple games, even maybe a Prince of Persia game, sort of like, will be able to run no issues whatsoever. The second game I tested, because it's one of those games that runs very well on everything, is the Doom Eternal. Unfortunately, this game doesn't support FSR2, so I had to rely on dynamic resolution scaling, which unfortunately, well, doesn't tell the whole story because we're not really playing at 8K. It will vary from time to time, but it still is running without ray tracing at medium settings around 60 FPS. So I think with the some optimizations on the PlayStation 5 Pro, something like this, using like PSSR, which is the DLSS version of PlayStation that is going to be a norm with the PlayStation 5 Pro, this game could easily run at 8K with 60 FPS. So that's not a bad start if we check, even though there are some kind of old games, not new ones. When we go to a more recent game, especially one that has ray tracing, then we start to realize the issues where the PlayStation will have to sacrifice a lot in order to be able to play these sort of games, because we're talking here that to play at 8K we have to rely on FSR performance, but also on low settings, because even medium settings will bring the FPS under 30 FPS. And of course we have to forget completely about ray tracing. So this is the point that where I think, what's the point then on playing at 8K if I have to lose so much attention to quality? I would prefer then again to stay at 4K with PSSR and maybe up the ray tracing quality of the game and stabilize the 60 FPS. So this is one of those things where I don't think 8K makes more sense. It's the same as, for example, with Horizon Forbidden West. This game will have to play a medium setting, which is sort of the PlayStation 4 configuration, not even PlayStation 5. And then we have to play it with FSR Ultra Performance, which I have no problems, and I think PSSR should and could be better than this, so that would not be a big deal. However, the fact that we have to, contend with 30 FPS, maybe 40 FPS, I don't think the sacrifice in visual quality is justifiable. I would prefer again 4K. So it's technically doable to play 8K a game like this, and it's impressive, but it's still, it's doable, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would prefer 4K with better quality and graphics than, upping the resolution. The Last of Us Part 1, however, is sort of different. In this case, the game, we had to play at medium settings because, even though we had the VRAM for playing more, it would go under 30 FPS. However, being optimized for a PlayStation 5, I think it will be interesting to see this game at 8K, because this is a game where many of us have played already at 30 FPS on the different systems. So playing these games maybe at 8K just as a, muscle flex for PlayStation 5 wouldn't be such a bad thing to do. If they are able to keep the settings on high with some optimization for the PlayStation 5 Pro and keep the game, using PSSR and 8K resolution, it could be sort of a win situation for PlayStation to just say, you see, we can. The same can be said for Spider-Man Miles Morales, but in these games, I think that even though we are getting better performance than we were with the two previous games at 8K FSR Ultra Performance, I think we're losing the ray tracing settings, which add so much in terms of reflections. As a matter of fact, I would prefer this game to do the same as on PC, which is add like some ray trace shadows to the mix to improve the game visual quality than to have to play at 8K using medium settings without ray tracing. So that's why I say, yeah, 8K is possible in many cases, but I wouldn't recommend it because I don't see that the gain in resolution is enough to justify the loss in image quality. Resident Evil 4 is another game where, yeah, we can get to 4K and at 30 FPS using FSR balance, so we didn't even have to go that high, but we're losing again the ray tracing features of it because we're playing at balance preset. And once again, even if I had a 4K, an 8K TV monitor, I would probably prefer to play a 4K with ray tracing and 60 FPS than to go to 8K just for that extra visual clarity. Of course, I don't have one, and I don't know how much difference it will make if I'm playing like an 86-inch TV, but still, I think 4K is the sweet spot, and any, upscaling that can be done via the TV, having better quality, would be preferable to having less settings and playing at a resolution. Avatar, as you can see here, well, it's not doable. However, this is a game that is using ray tracing on every mode, even if you don't support, your hardware doesn't support ray tracing. So, well, it's still, commendable that the fact that we're able to get close to 30 FPS and medium settings, because in this game, low looks really bad, and probably if we were using a PlayStation 5 Pro, more optimized settings and so on, we could get to those 30 stable FPS. But once again, would that be preferable to play at 4K 60 FPS with better settings? I don't think so. So once again, that the fact that something is doable doesn't mean that it's recommended. So for my money, I still prefer 4K. And well, as you can see, obviously some like indie games, yeah, you can get to 8K sort of without too much complication. There is that, but most AAA games, even using like FSR, is not worth it. You have to sacrifice so much quality, and just to get to 30 FPS in most cases, I don't think there is any point, to be honest, on even having 8K as part of the conversation of the PlayStation 5 Pro. Okay, yeah, maybe some indie game can go out and say, oh, look, we're running at 8K. But so what? I don't think that's going to do anything. I don't think a person, buying an 8K monitor and a PlayStation 5 Pro did it to play some indie games at 8K. And I'm not trying to say that, indie games are not worth it. They are very good games. But in terms of graphics, we know they are more and more simple. So I don't think they are going to make a big difference if you play them at 4K or at 8K. In any case, we are limited in the RX 6800 because the bandwidth is not as high as the bandwidth on the PlayStation 5 Pro. So that could help, but still, I don't think I would never sacrifice so much image quality just to get to 8K. I would prefer to stay with 4K, with ray tracing and all the new things that the PlayStation 5 is going to bring to the table, 5 Pro, bring to the table in terms of image quality. I wouldn't sacrifice, that improvement in image quality just to get an improvement in resolution. I'll prefer to stay with my 4K 1440p resolution and have the best image quality possible when it comes to image, ray tracing and settings and textures and so on. So yeah, as an experiment, I think this was interesting. I hope you like it. And as always, see you on the next video.